You becoming a pianist once became a matter of death or alive. Was that dramatic?
Yeah, once upon a time when I was 9 years old, it was very difficult in my life because I decided to become a professional pianist, and then I realized it's in the reality, it's not that simple, and in the reality, probably I couldn't even make it before turning 10. So it was a very challenging time then. And over the years, it's also because in classical music, there's a certain what you call the history of our tradition, which is it takes already more than 300 years. There's kind of a, you see this is classical music. This is what it is, and then you try to break in to this world. It's certainly not easy.
You once had a piano teacher, very clever, that said that you would never make it to be a pianist. I think this is very helpful for many people, that once somebody tell them that they couldn't become what they wanted to be.
Right. It's kind of, especially when you're a little kid, if somebody telling you, don't do this, you are not good enough and you will not make it. This is kind of like the end of the world. If somebody calls me today to say this, I'm old enough to know what is my decisions, But that time, somebody's telling me like that, I thought, okay, maybe I don't have anything, it's horrible. It's a horrible feeling.
To be a piano player, you have an amazing memory. You have an amazing memory, just musical memory, or all kinds of memories?
I have a good memories on few things. Memorizing the score, memorizing the detail of things, whatever. Yeah, but I'm horrible with numbers. Like telephone numbers, it's hard to memorize. I was never good at this. Also I have a good memory on what from the past. There are a lot of things I still remember very clear, particularly when I hear some music and somehow it relate to what I experienced at same time. This happened many times when I start playing some of the pieces which I performed when I was 4 or 5 years old. I forget the piece, but when I start playing the piece, I totally remember everything, who I played with, what toy we did play, and what was the day like. Somehow, I think it's for me, my memory is with emotions. When I hear something, I feel emotion, I remember things. And that's how, I think that's the best way to remember the music pieces. If you only try to memorize note by note, it will be very, very slow. But if you try to memorize by what you feel, what this bring to you, then it's fast. Yeah.
When I see you playing, it seems that you are the one who's enjoying the most in the hall, especially if we just see your face. Obviously your hands are working a lot, but seeing just your face, it's like you are enjoying the concert, you are just listening to it.
For me, I need to first enjoy myself, because it's ongoing hard work. Every day you need to keep the discipline. It's like football in a way, or like sports. You need to keep the discipline, and sometimes as professional players, we like music less than the real music lovers. And for me, sometimes I felt if I see a game, it's not so exciting, I will feel that I'm actually more excited about them than the players actually play on the field. You know what I mean? You have this kind of feeling. And in the music world, it's the same thing. Sometimes when you're so classical, professional musician, you lose this freshness, that why you want to become a musician, and sometimes if we lose who we are and who we really wanted as a kid, then is quite bad thing, I would say. So I don't want to lose that, and whether people think what music should be like, what recital, what poster should be, classical musician should be sit in certain way or look in certain way. And for me, that's not the main issue. For me, what works is how to reach out my real emotions to our listeners, and when I want them to feel the entire universe from our heart, not just one side of the planet.
On Friday, you will be playing Così fan tutte opening, and also Concerto number 24 of Mozart. Are they related? I mean, the opera pieces that Mozart did and the instrumental pieces that he did?
I mean, Mozart, everything for me is opera. Whether his chamber music, whether his sonatas, whether his concertos, it's all opera. Because himself, this guy is the most dramatic person I know, even though he looks like a very pure angel, but this guy is a real party animal. From people I learned with, and this is a real human being. His gifts are like God, but as a personality, he's a real naughty boy. so I really love this combination, in him. That's why I think Mozart is so popular, is because he has this double face. Even though maybe he's not a Gemini, but somehow he certainly have those elements. And then the Rachmaninoff, I think is going to be a contrast, between this dramatic classic music and to this incredible romantic, very young Rachmaninoff, from the college. I'm sure during the college he got to do a lot of passionate things.
How important are the Mozart concerts to understand that once piano, when in front of the orchestra, became this lead instrument and not just harmonic support for the orchestra?
Yeah, I mean, for piano concertos, it's almost like a chamber music. I mean, the Mozart, you basically can conduct from the keyboard, or you don't even need to conduct. You can just, look into people's eye, But in this case, we still need a conductor, so we have our maestro, to do the concert, because it's still, I think, with conductors easier. But in this type of time, it's piano and orchestra are in the same. It's kind of totally in the same boat. So it's really making a chamber music. But somehow later, the piano sound is getting much kind of like the cadenzas, has a much more solo and to come out a little bit more and more and more. And then people like Chopin or Liszt, they made piano really the prime. But in the same time, you have a Brahms, which is also more played like a team player, with the orchestra, so much to do with the orchestra. So Mozart is kind of the beginning of what you call, the piano coming out from the water.
It said that Rachmaninoff had neuralgia, and one way of healing it was when he was playing piano. I don't know if you felt yourself this healing power of music.
Yes, it totally matters. I mean, for example, sometimes I get very narrow-minded because of the scheduling of the travelings, or some people, you meet maybe not so pleasant, and it makes me think in a very narrow way, and I kind of you cannot get out, from kind of a stupid situation, and then when I start playing music, whether it's Bach or Rachmaninoff, it's broaden up my heart, and I became normal again, and became more generous again, rather than give me this, give me that. What I mean? And music really opened up things for us, and sometimes also music gave me a lot of ideas, because in certain pieces you have so many elements from different directions, which sending out the information through the music chords, the music phrase, coming out, those talents or those ideas are coming out from the phrase. and then sometimes you take this kind of inspiration to make decisions, on your real life, and it works quite well.
How is it to deal with this life of constant touring, with the life of a musician that I imagine it should be so disciplined?
It's a challenge. I mean, this is actually a not easy thing, and the thing is not going to get easier. That's the thing, because normally it's okay, but when you have a lot of pressure, you need to deal with a lot of things outside music, or sometimes you get a cold, and then you're still going the same speed, and then the ear, infection, or the throat, it's kind of, let's put it this way, sometimes our spirit is still 100%. You think I can do everything, because that's the problem. Once you are on stage, you feel that the world is yours. You feel that, oh, I can do everything. But then after the performance, you felt, oh my God, my physical power is not 100%. It's certainly my ears pain, my jet lag bothers me, and sometimes start coughing, or arm is getting sore, and your physical power cannot match your mental power. Or sometimes it's the opposite. Your mental power is really down, your physical power is really high. And how to get this inner balance. It's so difficult. I mean, it's very easy to say, oh, come on, just let's sleep well and take a walk. It should be okay. But in real life, sometimes doesn't get this inner balance quick healed. So that's the challenge part of being a musician. And also another thing is, no matter how you think, on stage, you really need to be, all the trouble you have, you cannot show it on stage. You need to be totally focused, and in a way, some people feel not very comfortable because they cannot really separate. It's almost like, I remember a few years ago, many years ago, the movie Matrix. You have this world and the other world, and we are, we need to switch on and off very fast. And if you need a lot of time to switch in, switch off, then you will have problems of being on stage performer. Yeah.
Do you agree with Beethoven that said that the worst musical mistake, it's not a technical mistake, it's not putting passion on your performance?
Certainly there are so many type of mistakes, and obviously you shouldn't think about, oh my God, if I start playing wrong, what should I do? Never think about it, because this will be the biggest nightmare, and also, frankly, it doesn't help. Don't think about it, and really focus on how to make music interesting, make music sincere, make music connecting, and that need to be, technique need to serve on the, on those certain stands. Not technical thing cannot serve showing off. Like, hey, look, my technique it's just like if you are a great kung fu player, a martial art player. You are not just like kicking everybody on the street. You think, hey, I'm a martial art. You need to use your wonderful skill on the right spot, and it's the same thing in music. We cannot, if we have a good technique, don't show off, but you need to serve the music, and you need to use your good technique to make people feel more advanced, more satisfied, rather than make them more angry.
I guess one great feeling is when you believe that one piece should be played in the Mirror Hall in Versailles.
Yes.
And you are able to do that.
Yeah, we were very happy, to record the Tchaikovsky seasons and Chopin scarcies like what we were doing the tour in Versailles back 6 months back from now, and it was a very interesting day. It was raining during the day, and then it's getting cloudy, and then sun came out after 9:00 p.m. It was the longest day in Europe that day, actually, and it was such an interesting experience, and to play, to record Tchaikovsky's seasons, which, from January to December, and somehow it was the right day for it, because it was during the day you had everything. You had the sun, you had a rain, you had a clouds, and the garden became almost like four seasons. So it was, I don't know what happened, but it was a quite unique day to do it there. And the acoustic is quite interesting. It's a pretty big sound, much bigger than what I thought. With the mirror, and also when we shoot video, it's pretty good because you can see angles from everywhere. The whole room is filling with the light and mirrors.
And not many people get the chance to play there.
Yeah, I mean, I was quite lucky. They let us to use the hall, and then in return later I became the Versailles ambassador. So this summer we will be back in the garden, and next summer maybe do something in the different parts. And so I think in another 5 years I will play in every room there.
What do you get from collaborations with people so different from you, like Metallica or Pharrell Williams?
I really love to work with those, great talent from different kind of field, but within music, and people like Pharrell last year, working on and also thanks to Hans Zimmer, which he invented some parts for the piano version of Happy, the song. And then recently I did some interesting project together with Quentin Tarantino and Maestro Marconi on the Hateful Eight. So I did a piano version, piano rendition, and we just shot a video beginning of this month, and now it's hopefully that we will support him to win the Oscar for the first time as the original soundtrack composer. So that is quite interesting. And then currently I'm working on a New York album, which is featuring a lot of music from America, but kind of a New York oriented, like Rhapsody in Blue, like pieces by Copland, pieces by Bernstein, like Somewhere, and then in the same time inviting musicians like Sting, like Alicia Keys, John Legend, to join us for some new arrangement of tracks. So
your goal is to take classical music everywhere.
Yeah, I mean, my idea is to connect, with musicians from our world, which classical music world, but also elsewhere. Working with musicians, from the jazz, from the pop, from new generations, from Asia, even like K-pop, and to see like how to create this dialogue between us, and this is always like finding a new language, and to see what works, what doesn't work, and make some decisions based on that. And also, the music education for me, it's quite interesting, to find the best way for the kid to learn music in a more easy, kind of not easy but easier and more fun and fresh way, rather than we are following the same rule every day. I want them to be more liberal than setting everything by rules, because obviously, if you cannot avoid of practicing, you got to do that. There's no one can say you don't need to practice, I will get you there. No one can say that. And what my teacher, one of my very important teacher, Daniel Barenboim, said, he said, whether you have talent and whether maybe you have a little less talent, it doesn't matter, because even you have the biggest talent, you still need to work the same as the other people. And maybe your talent will shine slightly more. and he's so right in this way. So let's work out maybe some new ideas to make music, maybe make it a little more smooth, make easier to understand. But the work you do, the time you spend, it will always remain the same.
To start to learn to play piano, you should accept a certain level of sacrifice. But to be playing it for 30 years, as you are doing, I guess that now it's just enjoyment. It's like this.
Yeah, I really enjoy a lot, but in the same time, we are also having a lot of challenges because in our world, we can create a lot of new ideas, but in the same time, we have a danger, to upset, the more traditional thinkers of what classical music should be. And we need to respect them as well. This is not just a world for the liberal musicians trying to do all the wild ideas. We also need to respect our roots. And so this has become something that I'm more careful these days, because in the same time I want to be as much as connect to the next generations. I don't want to see our world kind of become less, from the big world, But in the same time, we also need to keep what you call the original sound or original style. And this has become quite a challenging, and with the record world, with the performance world, finding the right repertoire, find the right approach, and find the right balance. And so this game is not easy, I can tell you that. And it's always to do with this balancing thing. And I hope that we always find a solution. And sometimes I felt it can be harder to find the right decision. But we're still trying to do it better.
You've shown a lot, even here in Barcelona, that you love the education of piano for the next generations.
I think everything is really depends on the education, and the thing is, the problem with a lot of the problem which is started less education, whether in music or in society. Like you see a lot of the problem, like the major problem, like the major problematic neighborhood. They have a very bad education system, and probably they have no music system, and that's why when I learned a few years ago the El Sistema, from Venezuela, how they change the society with music education, and much lower crime, much better, the creativities, and much better society, much more peaceful, neighborhood because of music, and that just gives us the right direction. We need to do that, and this became a world global problem. It's not just in some countries. It's become this problem, the music education problem is pretty major around the world. Even in the countries like America, there's just one public school in Boston. Can you imagine you think Boston, this is one of the most incredible cities to study, right? You think about this, and then you realize there's only one public school in Boston has music class. I mean, this is we are supporting that public school, by the way, but it sounds pretty scary.
I love your Mandarin Mondays. I don't know if this is something that shows that you really want to build this bridge between China and the Western countries.
Yeah, Mandarin Monday was somehow we wanted to have some fun with my friends, because sometimes they like to impress me with some Mandarins, as a surprise, and so we started like that, and then now I started the Chinese cuisine course, started last week. So every week I will bring a Chinese kind of a nice dishes that I recommend people to eat. so now it's become a new. Since the Chinese New Year begins, I thought, okay, let's get some food.
So thank you very much.
Pleasure.
Thank you.
Gracias.
We go that way?
Yes.